Another GameCube controller enters the ring. This is the DOYOKY Retro Game Controller, and they're the same people behind Binbok, if you've seen any of my reviews about Binbok controllers before. And yes, we do have the Nixie Wizard, of course, but I do want to say I'll be doing a separate video comparing both of these, so stay tuned for that one. Subscribe! So this is the controller itself, and yes, of course, it is heavily inspired by the GameCube over there. It's really lightweight, like super lightweight. I don't know if I want to say it's cheap feeling. It's very plasticky, but I mean, it's a big plastic controller, right? But that's my first impressions, is very, very lightweight and a little bit rattly. We do have set octagonal gates just here for the joysticks, and that's on both sides. But I can see straight away this side is raised and this side is not. Kind of like the GameCube controller. So the GameCube's got the raised bit and then it's like flush down here, right? And that's exactly what this is like. It does make the height difference. So this one's like taller than this one, but it feels actually really nice in the hand. Now, of course, we do get the oversized button layout, the classic GameCube layout. So we've got a big A, we've got a B, a Y, and an X. But to be fair, they feel pretty good. Let's have a listen, shall we? So they don't feel like mushy or sticky. And, oh, okay, Y feels a little bit mushy, but the rest feel okay. They feel okay. We've got a D-pad and it's not clicky, which I like because, you know, another one is clicky. We've got the classic like joystick sort of layout, but the C-stick is really small. So if I just get the GameCube version out here, the C-stick on the GameCube version's really large, the nubbin as I call it. Whereas as you can see on this one, it's actually like really slim, but it doesn't feel horrible in the hand. I must admit, like I actually kind of like it. And we've got the classic GameCube circles on this one as well. And yes, they've got clickies. We've got some extra buttons, of course, for the Switch, right? So we've got our minus button at the top, our plus button, we've got our screenshot button, our home button. Then we get some extra buttons below here. So we've got an M, which is our macro button, but it's more of like a back paddle assign than an actual macro. I'll go into more of that later. Then we've got our turbo button, which of course is on each side. We have our R, our L, our ZR, our ZL, and you may have noticed this one has a charging dock. So this piece in the middle here, you can charge both controllers from this centerpiece. Thank you, DOYOKY. We've got our eject buttons. So if you want to eject, you know, the Joy-Cons from this piece, then you can. And then we have our L4 and our R4 buttons, which are nice clicky buttons as well. So they've got a good, like, you know, resistance to them, which is definitely nice to see. But you can see just how thin this controller is. Like, okay, I know I'm doing a separate video, but look at the size of this thing compared. Like, that is a big boy. You know, like this one is chonky, whereas this one's nice and light. And I'm actually kind of digging it. I was worried that it would feel a little bit light, like too light and cheap, but I'm kind of liking it. It feels nice. Now, there is something you can do with these joysticks. You can swap them over for these different ones. Now, personally, I actually quite like the nub. I like the nub. And if you wanted to, you could go double nub. So let's change this for a nub. So just pull up. Oh, it came off nice and easily. So that was quite good. They're like gated. So you've got like keyed is what I want to say. So it only goes on a certain way. And now you've got double nub. And weirdly, that's actually quite nice. Like I don't know why that's nice, but it is. Like it's strange because all joysticks nowadays, right, have a big thumb grip, which, you know, makes sense, right? But I actually quite like this. It feels accurate. It feels like you're getting more like movement on it. I mean, if you wanted a yellow one on there, you could go 2 yellows, right? If you really wanted to. So they're actually different heights. So I could actually put this one on and now I've got an extra long, you know, joystick height, whereas this one is pretty short. This one doesn't want to come up. Oh, Okay, that was stiff, like really stiff. So you could have it like this if you really, really wanted to. But personally, I quite like just the standard layout. Even though the yellow one was stiff to start with, now I've taken it off once. I'm getting that off quite easily, but not so much so that it's going to fall off. There is a bit of resistance there, which I actually quite like. Yeah, I like the fact that you've got changeable joystick caps and the fact that they've given you options and different heights. So you've got like one of each. Some people might not like the layout because it's not reminiscent of, you know, the Switch. Because essentially with the Switch layout, the B button is down here, A is on the right, X is on the top, and Y is on the left. So of course it is wireless. You can use them independently as wireless Joy-Cons or wirelessly on this, or you can connect them to your Switch for handheld mode, which we'll do very soon. You've got Rumble, which has 3 different stages, and I'll show you how to change those. You've got Macro with the back paddles right there, so you can assign different buttons to the back paddles. You've got 6-axis gyro. You've got ALPS joysticks in this. So no, this does not have Hall effect sensing joysticks. This is just ALPS joysticks, and you've got wake from sleep, I think. So let's just test it out, shall we? So here we go. So I'm turning it on now. I'm gonna have to turn the other controller on because it's separate. And oh, we're straight into Metroid Prime Remastered. So yeah, I mean, playing it as an actual controller, this feels good. This feels good. And to be honest, with a game like this, I know this was originally a GameCube game, but with a game like this, A just feels great if you're going to use that as shoot. Now, because I am used to twin stick shooters, I'm going to use ZR, because otherwise you have to take your finger off, you know, and then shoot, which is not ideal. Obviously, if you use the target button, then you could easily, you know, spam A instead, because on this game you can actually like lock on to targets with ZL instead. But to be honest, this feels quite nice. Let's just see really quickly if there's any sort of like dead zone in here. Oh, it's turning quite well. So I'm very, 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 very just tickling it. Oh yeah, there's a very minor dead zone there. So there's enough to notice, but not a lot. So there's a little tiny bit of dead zone on that one. And let's try it on this one. So you can see that there is just a hair of dead zone, but honestly, not that much. It actually feels nice as a controller itself, but let's try it like on the Switch. Let's just really quickly compare against a Joy-Con. Now the Joy-Con of course is absolutely tiny and horribly non-ergonomic, whereas this is literally a GameCube controller cut in half, so it should feel a lot better. And look at the size of this thing. That is freaking massive. Wow, that's cool. Yeah, I love this. Like, to me, because I'm a massive Metroid fan, right? And playing Metroid with a GameCube controller just feels so good to me. But let me show you like the turbo and the macro buttons. With the turbo, what I'm gonna do is press the turbo and then the button I want. Now, I do have to say turbo, there's a reason why there's 2 turbo and 2 macro buttons, is because you can only assign the right side to the right side and the left side to the left side. And I'm gonna press the turbo button and then A, right? Now, if I hold A, bam, 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 spamming that stuff, right? So I can just spam around. If I do it again, so turbo, A again, now I don't have to do anything. It's just doing it for me, right? But if I press A again, it's gonna pause it. But the cool thing is you can actually have multiple turbos going on. So if I assign turbo to B, so it's on auto, I can effectively just run around like a crazy, automatically jumping and automatically shooting. And you can assign turbo to anything. Now, if you want to clear that, you can either press turbo and the button you've assigned and that will clear it, or you can press and hold the turbo button for 5 seconds, it will vibrate and the whole thing will be cleared. Now you also have the macro button, yeah, so you've got macro, and what we need to do is just press the button we want on this side. So I'm going to press macro and A, and now the back paddle, the back trigger just here, is now my shoot button, right? So I can effectively run around and shoot with the back paddle. Now, what I really like about this is the fact that this is an actual button change, right? So with other controllers I've seen that say they've got macro, it is actually a macro, right? So where you assign multiple button presses and it just does it for however long you've held it for. This is not that. This is actually a true assign. One click, if I hold, does the 3 clicks, and if I hold, now I'm gonna charge up and then let go. So that is actually a true button remapping, and I love that because it really annoys me when there's back paddles on controllers and it's just a macro assign and not a button swap. So that is a big win for me. Now you can, of course, press macro and A and that unassigns it, or you can press M and then that's going to wipe it after 5 seconds and you will get a vibrate notice. One thing I've noticed is that the vibrate differs on both sides. So to change the vibration sensitivity, what you've got to do is press the turbo button and then left and then right on the joystick, right? So left is decrease, right is increase. So that's 0, there's no vibrate now. That's 50%. That's 100%. Now on this side, it's the same thing, but the left-hand side, this side, is way stronger vibration than the right side. So I don't know if it's like a non-calibrated thing, but it is noticeable. So this is 0, that's 50, that's 100. And if I keep pressing it, it will just keep spamming 100. Now with the left, it's a lot stronger rumble on 100%. Now, when you're playing a game, you can't really notice it, I must admit. Like right now, every time I'm jumping, it's causing a rumble. But, you know, it just would have been nice for them to be the same strength. Okay, now let's just quickly test the gyro. So now I've enabled gyro in this game, and whoa, that is really strange. Oh, I'm gonna have to completely move it to like turn, because this is like old school Wii gyro style, because it's a point and shoot effectively. Okay, so now the Joy-Cons are off. This is what it's like for gyro, and this is much better because obviously this is an FPS, right? But I'm controlling the like movement with my left Joy-Con, and then I'm using the gyro on the right one to aim. And to be honest, it feels great. And obviously I can recenter or just like lock on with the ZR. There's a minor delay, but I'd be happy to play like this, especially if I was playing on the TV and I wanted to use this. But honestly, I probably wouldn't be playing like this. I'd be playing with these attached. But yes, you can use these as separate Joy-Cons if you wanted to. You could even play like this if you wanted one person each. And everything just feels all right, to be honest. I quite like how slim these are. And you can see here that it sits flush with the Switch. And I really like that. It makes the whole footprint of this controller a lot smaller than the other one that we've seen before. I really like the look of them. They seem to function well. I like all of the, you know, functionality, essentially, the features. There's no NFC, but who really cares anymore? You know, you'll probably use the Pro Controller or the Joy-Cons if you need to use NFC, but I really like the look of this. Now let's talk about the price, shall we? So over here in the UK, this is going for about £53. So in the US, it's about $65. So I've no idea what the shipping is, unfortunately, and it is most likely going to come from China. So it's probably quite a bit of shipping time there. I'll put a link down in the description if you want to see that. But do I think it's worth it? Yeah. If you want something that's pretty cool and a bit unique and you like the GameCube style and maybe you like going to play Super Smash Bros. or even Metroid Prime Remastered, then yeah, it's pretty cool. If you've got that spare cash and you don't mind just having a unique controller, great. It's quite expensive, but it all seems to work quite well. I actually really like the feel and the shape and finish on it. Like it just seems good, you know, like I do quite like it. So like I said, I will be doing a comparison against the Nixie Wizard, so go down there and subscribe if you want to see that one. And whilst you're here, go and check out the podcast channel where me and AJ talk about all things gaming. Go and check out a video from me and him up there. And why don't you check out the Nixie Wizard video that I've done down here whilst you're waiting for the comparison. Let me know all your thoughts down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.